Hello. Good morning. Well, it's actually just about afternoon. One of the lovely things about my life is that I just sleep when I want to. And so I typically get up really early, but sometimes I do things like go to bed at 7 o'clock at night, get up at 2, stay up for a couple hours, and then go back to bed till 8. If I want to sleep for 12 hours, I sleep for 12 hours. And it's been so good for my PTSD. Just letting myself sleep as long as I need to. Brain fog is a very common issue that people with PTSD deal with. And, okay, so maybe you're not going to be quite as productive, supposedly, if you sleep for 12 hours, but also if you can't think properly and many of your waking hours aren't going to be productive anyways, why not use that time to sleep? And then when my brain is working, now I can be really productive and it's marvelous. And anyways, so good late morning from, beautiful Minnesota. I know, while people join in, I have sad news to report from my aquarium. We had a incident apparently in which my snail, I really like that snail, left the aquarium, and I now have to clean up a snail track on my rug. And the poor thing, I unfortunately did not witness the event. I was not there to rescue it. So it is gone. It is sad. I will have to get another. That was that. Anyways, what I wanted to talk to you guys today about is a question that I get asked all the time. Because victims are, scary, honestly, to a lot of people, because of course, if you're really hurt and you're in a defensive position, you think about an animal that's been injured, it can be very difficult to get help to them, and people can be not all that different. But it seems to be super, super common for people to mistake the predator for the victim and the victim for the predator. And there are reasons for that I won't get into. But commonly when people talk to me and they listen to, they look at my life and they listen to the things that I say and how I think, and they're like, you seem completely and totally different from what you have described being surrounded by. Why is that? How is that? And they're kind of like, what causes one person to go through some horrible situation and become predatory and another person to go through a similar situation and decide to be a human being? And I really believe it comes down to a choice, and the choice is almost always made in childhood. And that choice is when you are hurt, being treated unfairly, when you are being treated as if you were prey rather than a human being, because humans aren't made for humans to prey on. We don't put up with that crap from other species. Why would we put up with it from our own species? But what happens is one person will think, I never want anybody to feel like I feel right now. This is not okay. I don't want anybody to ever feel. This is so wrong that it's almost like they call judgment on it. This is so wrong that I never want anyone to feel the way I feel right now. What the person who goes on to become a predatory person does is when they're in that situation, instead of thinking that, they think it's a world of they believe the predators lie. It's a world of predator and prey. And in a world of predator and prey, I'm going to be predator. I'm not going to be prey. And that is typically the difference. Obviously, first of all, I think we need to remember that when people are making this choice of how to deal with being treated this way, they're children. They're children. And often they've been being treated this way from the time they were tiny, which means that their literal brain structure is compromised. So it's very tragic. It's extremely tragic when you see a human being who is acting like a predator, because that's somebody who never got to be a human being. That's somebody who never got to be in a real relationship with other human beings. It's sad. It's sad. Like, we look at all of the fallout. Look, there were times on my journey where I was so angry at the disparity between what I was experiencing, and I haven't done anything. Quite the opposite. And what my abusers were experiencing. There were times that I was really like, is this even worth it? Like, what the hell, God? What kind of world is this that you've made where the evil always wins? Where terrible people just get to do terrible things, and they get to live out long lives of prosperity and be respected in their community, while I'm like finding a good spot to sleep in my Crown Vic so I don't get seen and caught. Like, what the fuck? There were many times I was like, there seems to be no connection between what I put into the world and what I get back. I used to say to people on the street, often they'd be like, I did this thing wrong, and I made this mistake, and I did that, and I was this sort of person. And I would say, well, look, I'm glad you recognize that you shouldn't be doing that stuff. And I hope, I'm glad that you're working on changing all of that, and congratulations on your progress. But let me tell you, I didn't do any of those things, and I'm standing right here next to you. So don't buy into the lie that somehow your mistakes mean that it's okay for you to be where you're at, or that you don't deserve better, because you do. Because I wouldn't be here if you just only wound up here if you deserve to be here, But yeah, that's, so I've been in the deep of it, right? I've been in the thick of it. And predatory people need to be defended against. They need other people to help defend against. That's one of the big mistakes we're making, is we're basically requiring the victims to carry the full burden of what these people do to them. And anything short of doing that perfectly, and you're just thrown away. It's used as evidence. I described it to a woman once. I've described it to numerous people, but one woman in particular who I remembered, who was recovering from a heroin addiction, literally burst into tears when I said this. I said, it's like, if you are victimized, if somebody does something horrible to you and they've shoved you to the ground, and then while you're on the ground struggling to get up, somebody comes and trips over you, and now they're mad at you because why are you laying on the ground? And they start kicking you and telling you to get up. And then other people come along and they see, oh, this person's kicking this person. And they're saying, well, they're a nuisance. They're causing a problem. They're a danger. They're just laying on the ground. They need to get up. And everybody goes, get up. Why aren't you getting up? And before the person's even recovered from the first injury, everybody just, and if you try and get up, well, then you're scary. She's coming for us. If you try and raise a hand to defend yourself, it's like those stupid cops who are afraid of their own. Literally, there was a cop who shot at someone because an acorn landed on her vest. Like, this is how scary these people are. It's a nightmare. I used to tell people it was going through this whole thing of being put out was like trying to recover from a car accident while being beat with baseball bats. It is not cool. And people do need to do a much better job of standing up for victims. Simply saying, oh, of course that's wrong. We all know that rape is unacceptable and blah, 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 blah. Okay, except the reality is that it is acceptable. For all practical purposes, it's pretty much legal. It's a way that men can still get wives in this country. Okay? Reality. obviously you deciding that it's bad isn't enough. You have to actually do something. You have to actually stand up for people. Your values don't mean anything if the only thing you do is shout on social media and show up to vote sometimes. They don't. You don't get credit for that shit if that's all you're doing. Sorry. Victims, the people who made the choice, we are literally talking about the people who made the choice. I don't want anyone to feel the way that I feel right now. Those are the people who need you to show up for them, and people do not. People don't. So, yeah, that is my answer to the question of what is, why do some victims become predators and some people become actual human beings, even though they're continually being beat up by people who claim to care about them. Because we decided that if the only power in this world that I have is trying not to be someone who hurts people like that, then that's what I'm going to do. And we do deserve your support, and we deserve a lot better treatment than we have been getting. So that's my challenge. All right. I love y'all. I'm sure I will talk with you again later. Bye.